We often think about feature development and the workflows necessary to do feature development, but there's also a workflow for debugging. Now, of
Yeah.
course, we want to all tell ourselves, no, no, we don't ship bugs. We just don't have bugs. That's not really a problem. But if we don't have a process to be super quick about investigating and fixing bugs, then when it happens, we're not going to serve our customers very well. And you mentioned having these subsets just ready. One example that happens all the time is some customer reports a problem. We go back and or whoever is working with them goes to the UAT or the staging environment and says, "Well, it seems to work here." Maybe some in production. Hopefully, we have some way to do some level enough level of pseudo impersonation to where we can get the customer's experience of what's really happening.
Uh,
And if we can see on production, or let's say we do screen share with the customer. Yeah, I can see that. I click on that screen, it just sits there. What's it doing? Or
right.
here's an error happening. Well, now we know that there's an error, but there's no error in UAT or staging, which might have a big old database, but for some reason or another, no problem. That means that there's not an error in the functional code. There's an environmental difference that's causing the code to behave differently. That some assumption that we have is not working out with the shape of the data, and with this tool and with subsetting, we can specify that customer's tree of data, and we can create an image with the masking rules for that particular customer, and of course all the records that hang off of that. We can desensitize them, and then we can have a set of data that is exactly the same shape as that customer has in production, but desensitize everything that identifies that customer. And now, if I have to debug it, I can clone that onto my own computer if it's not massive, or onto a appropriate database server that I'm using. And now I can run the code. I can use the debugger if I need to. I can see what's going on, because oftentimes, especially using Entity Framework and OR mappers, we in development, we kind of make assumptions. We do testing where there's a one-to-many or a collection relationship, and it works fine with 100 records. Heck, it works fine with 10,000 records. Ooh, but that customer in production, somehow, I don't know how they did it, but they got 3 million records in that table that were doing a collection relationship. Okay, we didn't expect that. They're the only customer that somehow ended up in that spot. And guess what? The mapping and the queries that are being generated to handle that parent-child relationship, not going to work. So
Uh,
now we're able to reproduce that bug. And now once we reproduced it, easy fix.
right. Right. No, and that's exactly right. Like there's often customers get the most amazing data into production databases, and I don't know how they do it, but they come up with things that we never think of in development. And so you're right. We have to have a way to reproduce that quickly and easily to solve problems.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on here before we
No, I
kind
would
of?
say, like this is like a 2.0 product of all these technologies we're putting together, but there's the subsetter is new and we're still evolving and changing and stuff. So anybody that is interested, we'd love to talk with you about how it works. And we'd love to know if we're meeting your needs or not, because we do a ton of research at Redgate. And so we're always trying to understand what we do to solve customers' problems. We operate a subscription now, so we're not selling you software and walking away. We are now partners that I have to prove value every year. So we really want to work closely with you.
Yeah. I want to make one point on the previous slide around the data generator. I love this approach, and with production databases that have been in production for a long time, you absolutely need the cloning and the masking all day long. But there's a lot of legacy modernizations where new things are being built, and there's a lot of net new development going on. And there's a lot of scenarios where, hey, that production database just is not really out there to know. I mean, or maybe it's just, hey, we got a new module that we're adding to the software system, and so there's, I don't know, 10 new tables that we're adding that just don't have that accumulated use. And SQL Data Generator really comes through. And one example, let's say let's say that we got great test coverage and unit tests and component level integration tests for our mappings and even full system tests, and they all run fast and it's all great because the databases are really small. And with SQL Data Generator, one really good practice is to just give the task to somebody on your team with really good analysis skills and have them just create a profile in the tool to generate just a whole bunch of data for every table in your database and load that sucker up and see if your full system tests still
Work.
work just fine with a database that didn't start as empty.
Yeah.
Like load it up almost to an absurd level and see which scenarios your application just grinds to a halt. Guaranteed, if you haven't done it yet, there will be at least one.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like I do that all the time. Like I add my 10 rows of data that I'm trying to play with, and then I'll say to SQL data, give me a million more rows so I can see if this still works. And I'll do things like, do nulls, do negatives, right? Add things I don't expect because I'm just curious. Will the
Yeah.
software still work, right?